hopefully. That should have gone live. That says end streams, that's a good start. So good morning one and all, if anybody's watching just yet.
Dowsy's just got into the group.
Dowsy's just got into the group, fantastic, so hopefully the live video will pop up. Okay, so
Over me, I'm just getting people in. Bear with.
I have 4. Morning Beatrice.
Have you got a Sally yet?
I don't know.
Right, I'm inviting Adrian in.
I have Joanne. Morning Joanne. We will start shortly. I'm just trying to see if we can get everybody in. We should have 7 in total by the time we get everybody in. Can you send one to Patricia as well, please?
Patricia?
Yeah.
What, invite or?
Yeah, well, a link to the video, because don't think she's been accepted into the group yet, so we need to try and get her into that video if we can. No, she's in the group, she's been invited, she just hasn't accepted the invite.
Okay. Not sure I can do that. I'll try.
You should have her as a friend, because she's your friend.
Come on, Facebook.
So we're just going to see if we can get a few more in. No, what's that? Morning Sue. Let's see if I can tag her in the video.
No, I don't think you can, sweetie, because she can't see until she's actually...
I can try.
And it just comes up with her slash through it. How can we resend it, Ian?
I've resent it this morning.
Right, okay.
I've just tagged her in the actual video. So I'm missing Kerry this morning as well. And Kerry's just joined us. Morning Kerry. So morning Beatrice, morning Joanne, morning Sue and Kerry. That's 5. Haven't seen Sally yet, so still waiting for Sally to find me.
Sally's going to be coming in as Adrian.
I know that, but it still hasn't popped up as there being there. So. And who else am I missing? Dowsy as well this morning.
Okay. Do you want to tag Delsey in the video?
Yeah.
Have you got Sue?
Yes.
Okay. Delsey's loitering on the group because she's liking stuff, so.
Okay.
I'm sure she's not far away.
No.
Patricia, on the other hand, I don't think is on.
So the only ones I'm missing now is Delsey.
Oh, she's just read.
Who has?
Patricia.
Okay.
So
Hopefully. So good morning to the ladies that have joined us. I'll get started in a moment. So if you're joining in with us today, doing it as I go along, you'll need Canvas open. and signed in. If you haven't already downloaded and you want me to show how to download, let me know and I can do that as well. I can go back and show people how to do that. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but do be aware there's about a 30-second delay on what you see to what I say. So just be aware there is that slight delay between the two. So if you do ask a question, try and be specific about what you want to see again. If you want to see something again, or so if you say, "Can you do that again?" Say, "Can you do X, Y, Z again?" And then I'll know to go back and do which bit. I don't mind going back. I will do anything over and over, and don't be afraid to ask. So my name's Ian, in case some of you don't know me. I'm sure some of you don't. There's some new people in here that I don't know. Right, I'm going to start because we have 5 minutes. I have 6 people in, so that's a good chance. I don't know who the 6th. I think that might be Delcy who's joined us. Yep, that's Delcy's just come in. So fantastic.
Okay.
So I'm just missing Sally and Patricia, but I'll let you try and sort those two out.
I will try.
Oh, Sally's just joined. So it's just Patricia we're missing now.
She's seen my message.
Okay. So we have, this is your first screen that starts up once you've signed in. I've made mine a bit bigger for you, so hopefully you can see it nice and clear.
Do you mind just say about signing in? Because I saw a couple of questions about how does it work if it's offline, why do you need to sign in and so on and so forth.
The sign in is purely there. Yeah, I will. Morning, Sally. The sign in is purely there just as a. It's almost like a verification process, a bit like you sign into most things. And for some reason it says every 7 days, or it keeps you signed in for 7 days. And it's basically just to check that you've got a machine, I suppose. Which I don't understand why, because it's free software. Now, I suppose they're saying it's free to people who have the machine. What do you think? I don't know, it's weird, isn't it?
Because mainly it's like a security thing, because you have this
I suppose you've got all your bits on there.
Your
account, yeah, and it's linked to your account as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a security as well. Although they've yet to link my projects through, which I'm a bit disappointed about. So like on the online version, you can see the projects that you've done. Yeah. On the online one, it doesn't link through the same way. So I'm a bit annoyed about that, but at the same point, you can still get to your pattern collections. So if you've bought any of your pattern collections, the ones that you've activated will come up in here, and you can access them in here. So that's linked back to your online account. So obviously go back to our Canvas project. So in here we have all the projects. So if I go to, where's my one I did yesterday? Down here. My Valentine's gift box. I picked yesterday. So if we want to use one of the projects, we can just click on here and it'll take it into Canvas. And if I move this out of the way, you can see there it's put in that part of the design. And we can also put in the other part. So we have both bits in, and then we can close that when we're done. Now the advantage with this one is I have what's known as layers, so I can put things in different places and I can turn them on and off and move them around and play with them a little bit. So like the eye of view, I can take this down here, I could rotate that and it might fit on the side. I was trying to think, I could probably get this all out of one piece of card. Maybe. That can go up there. That can come down. That can come down. That can come down. Oh, the eye of view isn't grouped. has to move.
So if you press and hold shift while you're rotating, you're going to constrain it to the 45 or 90 degrees.
Yeah, I will come around to doing all that. I'll move that down, and there you go. So if we really wanted to, we could then cut that out of one mat. I will just move these across and move that red section across. The reason I'm going to move it across is it's not within the red constraints, and if I'd tried to send that to the machine, it would have said it's outside the cutting area. So on your cutting mat you have this red dotted line around the outside, and that is what's known as your cutting area. So although your mat is 12 by 12, your cutting area is not. It's 11.73 by 11.65, is it? Something like that, roughly. So it's in slightly from both edges. So your actual cutting area is slightly smaller than 12 by 12. So although you have a 12 by 12 cutting mat, it doesn't actually cut 12 by 12. So that's how you can bring in a design from the Canvas projects and patterns. And you can access this anytime just by using this one at the top here, which hopefully you can see if it's not hidden under the live button. It'll depend what you're watching on, because it depends where it puts the live. So hopefully up in this very top corner, just under the undo, you have what looks like 2 books, and that gets you into your this one here. It brings up the canvas pattern, and you can access that any time. I'm just going to delete everything on my mat just for now. I don't need that. I'll come around to that. I group them, so I will show you how to do some grouping in a moment. So I'm going to firstly go through all your buttons. So I'll start down this side and then these, and then I'll come across and do this side as well, and the few that appear at the top I'll do as they appear. So your first one you have is this one here, which is your shapes. And in your shapes you have all the shapes you have on your machine. So if your squares, rectangles, polygons, triangles, circles, ellipse, heart, star, arrow and others. So right the way down through. So you have lots and lots of different bits, including jigsaw connect bits that you can put together to make jigsaw pieces, and various other bits and various other shapes which are always handy. Your arrows for road signs, stars, hearts for Valentine's coming up. They're always good. And if you want any of these on your mat, you just click your desired shape. So if you want a square, and it'll put a square on your mat. You can also click and drag, so if you want it somewhere else, so if you want it down here, you can put it down there. So if you don't want it to come in directly on top of what's already there, if you just click, it will put it all in that top corner, which gets annoying after a while because you end up with lots of bits in the same place. So if you've got one already on your mat, you want to put it somewhere else, click and hold and just pull it onto your mat, and then it'll put it wherever you drop it. So then we have our borders. So these again are the same. Again, you can just click on one and it'll put a border across your screen, or you can click and drag and you can put it anywhere you want it. Use the right delete. Then we have what's known as logos or icons on the online version. It's also, they've changed it to words, which is better. And this is all your pre-written words that they have. So it's all your birthdays, families, engagements, friends, fun, graduation, happy birthdays, hellos. And again, they're all on there that you can just click and they'll appear onto your mat. The same pretense that once they're on the mat, then you can play and adjust them as you wish. And then last but not least, this one you may or may not have, and this one will be, these grow as you get more and more packs. So we have the vinyl auto blade with our SDX. Yeah, I deleted them all at the same time then. So to delete everything, you can use, if you're on a PC, Control and A, or if you're on a Mac, Command and A, and then just press the backspace button and it will delete everything. Yes, I will be getting up to think. Yeah. So the more, when you get the premium packs, the ones that have different dice, so if you get the roll feeder one, you'll have another one here for your roll feeder designs. We've got one for the vinyl auto blade designs, and I think there's another one for
Rhinestones.
the rhinestones that also pop up down here as well. So as you get the packs, more and more icons will appear down here. So as you can see with the vinyl auto blade, it gives us a selection of patterns and designs that are also available for us to use with the vinyl auto blade that it comes with.
They can also enable additional functionality in Canvas as well. So like the vinyl auto blade, it activates the tiling function.
Yes, well, I'll come to that because that's under premium. It's got a separate tab at the top now for it, so it comes under different things. So that's your first little selection down this side. So the one you'll probably use most is the top one, which is your shapes, and then depending if you use the others, your borders and stuff, you can. The next one is your text. Let's try that again. Is your text tool. Now, if you're on a Mac and you've updated to Big Sur, this won't work. They are working on a fix, hopefully to be released by the end of January, but they are currently working to get that fixed. So if you've already done the update to Big Sur and you're on a Mac, this button won't do anything, which is quite annoying. If you're on a PC, it should still work. Unfortunately, my Mac is too old to go up to Big Sur, so it's working, which is why we're doing it on my Mac this morning. So text, you select it and then you can put in your message here. Press enter and there goes your text. Now the difference with this to your machine is you are now able to select any font that is available on your machine, on your computer, sorry. So you can either use it over here at the side, which is in the properties panel, and you can select any, or you can do it up here at the top. So you can click to drop down. To bear with my computer, it's a bit old. There we go. And then you can go through the fonts, find one that you like. Oh, disgraceful, I've got Child's Play on here. How bad is that? Don't have our own font installed.
It is only so
I think I've put Scripty on. Did I put?
I don't think you've put Scripty on, have you?
No, I haven't put any on. Oh well, we can go through that later. Maybe. I'll have a look at that in a bit. But we can pick, let's go something a little scripty. There we go, and it'll change the font. So you can now use anything that is on your machine for your fonts. If you want to do multiple lines, so if you wanted this on separate lines, you'd have to enter it as 3 separate text boxes. So if you want it to say Happy Valentine's Day, but you want it on 3 lines, you'd have to do Happy, and then Valentine's, and then Day. So you'd have to do it 1 line, and then go back to your text, select the next bit, and then text, and do your next one, and that way you'd have your 3, and then you could move those around independently and that way you'd have your Happy Valentine's Day on 3 separate lines. So while we're doing text, I'm going to do a few more bits with it. So say we want our Happy Valentine's Day to go around a heart. I'm going to just pick one word and use this because it's easier to do with one word to start with. So let's have celebration. Doesn't matter on the font at the moment. So we have celebration and we want it to go in an arc across. So we're going to put it round a circle. So we're going to pull in a circle and we're going to pull in our celebration. Now, one of the good tools on here is now that we can do what's known as a text to path. So it now follows a path when you put it in. So we're going to do what's known as a multiple select. So we're going to click on the one, we're going to press shift, and we're going to click on the other. And that selects both your items. And you can let go of shift and you have both items selected. We're then going to go over the side here into our edit tools. And we have this one here which is fit to path. So we can click fit to path and it puts it on that path. Now you can see it's turned my circle a light blue. So when we've finished with this, that circle will disappear. So we can pull this round so it sits on whichever end of the circle we want. We can have it on any angle. We can put it anywhere we want to. It will quite happily sit. So I want it at the top. If you wanted it across the bottom, then you think that's back to front. You can go into your properties tool and we can either A, change direction so it's now on the inside of my circle, and at the bottom, and once we've got it there we can change where it aligns to. So there we go, it now aligns to the top, so the top of the text now sits on there. We can also put it in the middle so it sits with it across there, so you've still got a nice curve around the bottom, or bottom, so it's the bottom of the text sits there. We can also change where it aligns to, so it aligns to the centre, to the right, or you can distribute it so it goes all the way around as one set. For some reason it's grouped the T and the I, but that's alright. I think it's just the font on it. And then it'll put it back. And again, if you just need to move it back, you can roll it down to the bottom. Once you're finished, if you're happy with how your text looks, you can also adjust the spacing. So if you think it's looking a bit scrunched up, we can make it space out a bit, or we can bring it a bit closer if we think we'd like it a bit tighter. So you can play with that there as well. What we do recommend is once you've got it happy and you think, yeah, I like that there, I like the celebration, I like where it's sat, I'll just move it that way just a touch. Now I've made that a little bit bigger. And then you can convert it to shapes. Now when you convert it to shapes, it takes it from being a text and changes it to shapes. So you can't then edit your text or the shape that it's in. So it will be stuck as this curve. I'll show you. So you click convert to shapes, and there we have our curve celebration. Now we can resize it still, we can make it bigger, we can make it smaller, but we can't change what it says and we can't change what it is. So if we go to our layers, I'll go into these in more details. Although it says it's text, it is actually a shape. Because I know I can't edit that text now. It just comes up as nodes if I double click, as where before it would have come up with a little box to edit my text. Everybody okay so far? If you want to just let me know if you're okay. Yeah, Joe says okay. Delcy, yes. Beatrice, okay. So this is good. I'm missing Sue. Very good. Okay. And Sue, we okay? Yep, brilliant. Okay, I think that's everybody who's in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay. So I'll carry on down this side quickly, and then I will come and do all the bits over here. There's lots of bits of fun we can have over this side. So our next button over this side is our SVG button. So this is where you can import designs from your computer. So we'll click on the SVG button, hopefully, if it's not going to crash on me. Just thinking about it. Apologise for the drilling. One of the neighbours downstairs. Let's see what we've got on the SVGs here. That one was cool. Can I bring that one in?
Yeah, you can use my Word art one, yeah.
Yeah. So bring in this SVG. Thought I'd finished doing this yesterday, to be honest. My computer's locked down. Bear with me a moment, my computer's having a think. There we go. So let's move this out of the way and delete that. There we go, we can see it export it in as a shape. And it should be all one. So I can move it around and we can resize that as we need to. So if we want to make it smaller or bigger, excuse my computer jumping around a bit there, it's having a bit of a dense 5 minutes there. smoother now. There we go. So we can resize that a bit smaller if we want to, and a bit bigger. So those are SVGs, and you can use any of the SVGs you bring in. Let's see if I can find one that has multiple pieces, because the multiple piece ones can be a bit more complex. So let's see if we can find one. The reason I say this, I want to show it how it brings in the different bits. What is SVGs? Oh, I might do. Let's see what that brings in. Okay. So, as we can see here, it's brought in lots of different pieces, which are all part of the design. Now the colours won't matter, they sort of are only there for reference, but I'm interested what's behind this big black box. So I'm just going to see if there's anything, so we can click on here and we can go down to opacity, and no, it's just a black box. I don't know why that's coming like that, or for what reason. So for that reason we can delete that one, because we obviously don't need that. Now you can go through if you want. I mean, one of the things that we tend to do is group the bits together so we know which bits are linked together, and you want to have a look for all the tiny pieces that you may not actually need. So lots of little bits of detail that really aren't necessary. And to be honest, the only one it looks like it might actually keep will be that one, which is a general outside shape. So if I pull that one across, you'll see it's just the outlines. So everything else is shading and colour. So to be honest, all of this here is additional bits that I don't really need.
What did you say? You don't know what's coming to that box?
No, it brought in a black box, which I assume was supposed to go round the project, and it put it down the bottom. It didn't put it round it, it put it just down at the bottom of the... Which is no need for that. So I deleted it. I'm just saying that a lot of the designs when they come in
will come in entirely black.
Yeah, some will come in entirely black, and the best thing to do with that is just to take out
the
filter on it, and then you'll see your design underneath. But with this one then I have all these bits here which I don't really need, because I have my outline work there, which is all I'm going to use, and these are all just bits shading for what it needs. So I can do a multiple select by clicking and dragging over the top with my mouse, and that will select everything else. Looks like I've missed a few bits there. So let's try that again. Let's start from down here somewhere and select up. There we go, that's better. Looks like I've got everything. And the way to tell is over here, it'll all go a lovely shade for you. Now we can do one or two things. We can group it and hide it, which will then just keep it out of our way, and it'll still be there if we do want to come back to it for reference, which I might do just to show. So to group something, we can either left click. Oh, it clicked off each way. So we can drag over it all. Stop it. Behave. Okay, we can go up to layer and group, or we can use Command and G or Control and G depending on if you're on Mac or a PC, and then that will put that all as one group. So there you can see everything there is put as one group, and we can shrink that up, and then we only have 2 items on our list. So we have the big group, which we can put colour reference, so we can rename that just by clicking on it, and then if we don't want it to go to the machine, we can hide it, so then it's no longer there. So then when we transport that to the machine or export it, it will only send our black outline shape. So then we've only got the one item on the mat that will send. And if we lock that one, it means it's not going to move and we can't select it, and then only that will send. So that's a good way if you've got lots of little layers and you think, actually I don't need it. Look for the one that looks like the biggest shape and just see if it is the full outline. Drag it across, and that way then you've got your... Okay, I haven't deleted the group, I've just hidden it. So up here in the top corner, if I turn it back on, it's still there. So the entire group is still there, it's just renamed it as colour reference. And I've literally got the little eye here which makes it visible or invisible, and it just turns it off. Excuse me. So it's a great little feature as well, because it only sends what it can see on the mat to your machine. So at the moment that's set to cut line, and if we want it to draw that rather than cut it, we can change that up the top here. So we can go to cut, we can change that to draw, and then we know that's a draw. It also changes the little icon over here, which then also changes to draw. So draw changes to a little pen. So with this padlock on, if I turn the colour reference back on, and I try and select everything, I can only select the black outline. I'm unable to select any of this over here, and that's because this padlock's on. If I wanted to be able to select it again, I have to turn that padlock off, and then I can pick it up and move it around. If you put the padlock on, I can no longer select that item. And that's just so if you find something, or if you're doing a big project, it's got lots of pieces and you think, that's where I want it, I don't want that to move, then you can leave it in that space, lock it, and then you can't pick it up and move it around. So it's a great way, if once you've just said, that's where I want it, that's what I want, happy with that, lock your panel, and then you won't be picking it up and moving it around, and it won't go anywhere else. Is Patricia struggling?
Yeah, it says that when she clicks on the invite, it doesn't do anything.
So I'm just going to have a quick drink.
So something, let me try and invite her again. It's just being intense.
Right, go to members. Go to invites at the side.
Okay.
See you all. Remove invite and resend it. Sorry, tech help.
No, it's going to be dense.
Do a refresh.
Come on. Facebook.
Okay, so where was I? So I'm going to unlock that because I want to be able to select everything. So select everything on your mat. If you've got 2 items on your mat or more, because there's lots more on there with the items, we can do Control A or Command A depending if you're on a Mac, which selects everything, and then just use the backspace key, which deletes everything.
That was promising. She's turned blue.
Hey! And that deletes everything off your mat. She should be tagged in the video, but you can tag her again. So next we have the image tracing. What?
blue. It's not letting me do it in there yet. Unless it's just because that needs refresh too.
So from here, the image tracing, we can trace a PNG, a JPEG, a GIF or a bitmap from our computer. Or if we have something we scanned on our machine, we can put it through and it will come through into Canvas. Might show you that later.
Yep, will do.
Yeah. So when we're on the other computer and it's working a bit more fluently. So for now I'm going to pull an image in off my computer. So again we click the one at the top. And we're going to find a JPEG. So let's go back up to Design Bundles. Chilling with me gnomes. Buffalo. There we go. It's a JPEG. So we're going to open that one. This obviously has nice defined lines because it's quite easily picked up all the bits around the outside, and this isn't using the enhanced image tracing, which is good. So it's saying here that it can see all the lines around the outside, it can see the nose, it can see the arms, and it brings it all together. If we want to resize that and bring it in, just so it's not picking up the outside a little bit too much, so we could bring that down. So if it was picking up a bit too much, we could adjust it, but that's okay. That's done nicely by the looks of it. I haven't taken anything off the bottom there, so I'll just drop that down a little bit just so it makes sure we pick up all the detail. And as you can see, it's doing the outside edge only, which is fine because it's picking up all these bits where they got the gaps as well. So we can go, okay, happy with that. Oh, we didn't bring in the text. Oh, that's naughty because you couldn't see the text, that's why.
I was going to say, what text? It's white.
It's white, it's there, but when you do the image to bring it in, it doesn't pick up the text.
No, because it's
You
white.
can't see it, yes. So that's a bit of a downside on
PNGs.
on PNGs. If it's got a white background, it won't see it. It doesn't put it through.
So
Be
that'll
careful.
be one of those for next month. Well, either next month or the month after. I'm going to do a Photoshop on Affinity Photo course, so you can see how you can get around that before you do your scanning.
Yes. Or how to save it as a JPEG so you can bring it through easier.
Yeah.
So it also brings through the image of what was there. So hence we now know there was text in the background. And you have down here the one that says image. Now you can delete that one if you want to, and you'll be left with just your gnome shapes. So generally we lock it and turn it off, and that way it just leaves you with what you're left with. So it's also part of that group, so I'm going to take it out of the group. So to do that, I'm going to unlock it a moment, I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to take it outside the group, so that way I know that all these bits are now just my gnomies, and I can lock it again from outside of the group. So now if I select group, it selects all of them. I can pick them up, I can move them onto my mat, and actually they're a little bit big because they're over the size of my mat. And then we have our gnomes. As you can see, it will cut all these bits individually. So although we have the image here, it might be handy to keep that just in file, because once you've cut it out and got it there, you're going to need to know where all your bits go to still make your gnomes look like gnomes. So it's there as a good reference, if nothing else. that's the image tracing. Natalie will also show you later the enhanced image tracing. It's an additional pack. It costs, you can get the reasonable ones about, I think, about £20 roughly with one pack. There's 2 sets that you can get with the image enhanced tracing. One comes up as about £70 and one's about £20, and they do exactly the same thing. The difference is how many patterns you get or designs you get. And yeah, they're not the best. So yeah, so just use the cheap one, and it gets you the enhanced image tracing, which allows you a lot more options on what it picks up in the background. So that's another thing, but we'll show you that later on. I'll get Natalie to show you that because she's the expert on the enhanced image tracing, and it'll work better on Natalie's computer because it's not running off a spare hard drive which ours is running, which drags it down a bit, doesn't it, dear? Are you still struggling to get her in?
Yes. I'm going to have to reveal the group to be able to do it. Which isn't ideal.
No, as soon as she's in you can hide it again. So that's that bit.
Hallelujah, she's in.
Hey. Let's see if she joins the video quick. Now, one thing I will say is don't worry if you miss anything that I am going through. These videos will stay up in this group for as long as Facebook will let us to leave it up. And you'll be the only people who are able to see it because it's paid. It's a paid group, so hopefully then that will it'll only be accessible to people who've paid to have access to this course. So both the videos from today will stay in here, and they'll be in here for as long as we can. So don't worry if you've missed any bits or any other parts, they will be here and you can watch them over and over and over. There's no restrictions, and you can post, if you have any questions, you can post a question in the group, and you can ask any questions you want to in the group, and we will get back to you. So we're not going to just do the videos and leave you on your own. We do stay and give assistance if needed. So that's me nomies. So we're going to delete those because for now they're the next bit. So I'm going to do a Control A so it selects everything, and backspace which deletes. So next we have our path tool. Now I'm going to skip over this briefly just so you know what it does. So this allows you to insert a path. So you can click once. If you just click once and use Shift, it will constrain your line to a straight line on an angle or straight, depending on which way you're going. And then you can click to another point, and then you can go down, and I do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to do a square, that's a bit boring. Once you complete the shape, it will turn it into a shape for you. Wasn't quite straight, but it's near enough. That's me more than the software. Or you can do open paths. So an open path is where you can just do from one end to the other. So if you want to do a score line, say, click once, click twice, and then that line you can move around. And to make it a score line, we can use the dots and dashes, and then that way when we click off it, we have a dotted line. So if you want a perforated line, that's the right side. Hey, I think Patricia has joined us.
Yep, update.
Upgrade. Hey.
There you go.
And that's how we get our dashed lines here. So also with the path, I might let Natalie do a little bit about this later as well, about how you make a curve and how you do other bits. So if you click and then you want to click and drag, you can then curve your line with your handles, and you can do the same the other way. So this way you can also set yourself up your own path if you want to set a path for your text to go along. So if you wanted mountains, you could then put your text in and it will follow that path along. Yes?
Watch your valleys. If you do mountains, watch your valleys.
Yes, so where it dips down, yeah. Yes, it tends to, if you don't get a nice fluent curve, your text tends to be a bit
of a mess in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
A bit of a stretch, yeah. So that's those ones. So we'll delete those quickly. And last but not least is the freehand tool on this side. So this is where you can freehand, so you can draw anything you like. Doesn't have to join up. And it will say that's your shape. Don't know. I always think it makes a funky racing track. But that last bit's a bit of a bum. Sharp corner at the end there. Swing round at the left corner.
Yeah, that's all you mean to hairpin.
And again, you can resize that if you wanted to.
Or we don't.
So that's the freehand tool. Much easier if you have a graphics tablet. It allows you to draw much finer detail and much smaller things, doesn't it? Which are always good. So that's this side of the mat. I'm just going to put some basic shapes onto the mat so I can show you the next bit. So across the top here we have our undo, which basically does exactly what it says on the tin. No, you're not a pain, Patricia. We all have problems with these technologies, so don't worry about it. As I was saying...
I was just saying that's Facebook for you.
Yeah, it is Facebook for you, but yeah. As I was saying just before you joined, don't worry that you've missed the start. We leave these videos up and you can watch them back as much as you like. So they're here for as long as Facebook will let us leave them up there. They'll all be in this group and just in this group. So it's there for, you can watch it back right from the beginning. So, sorry, get back across the top. We have our undo, and next to it we have redo. So if we undo something, we can do it again. So we can undo it, and we can redo. We have our select tool, which is also button V. So this allows us to select the items on the mat and cycle through. So if you're ever clicking and you can't select on something, then that's why. So you need to press V and it will go to that tool. The next one is your hand tool, which is the letter H, and this allows you to move the mat and not the items on it. So if you press H, doesn't matter where you click on the mat, it allows you to move your mat. Now this is handy if you've got it zoomed in, and you've got it super zoomed in, because then you can move the mat around and not the item, and then you can work on the next bit. So if you're working on nodes, which Natalie will be doing later, like you did, then you can move it around to the next bit and you can do your next node. The next one is your zoom button, which I believe is Z. So this, if you want to zoom into a particular area, you can draw a box just by click and dragging and it will zoom into that piece. And you can do it again and it'll just get closer and closer and closer. It goes up to 1,000, I believe, eventually. But for now we'll pop that back to 80%. Oh, 801. No, 80. 801's not much different. There we go, 80%. And I'm just going to use my hand tool to move my mat back to the middle so you can see it. So you can also put it in manually here, and you can just select up and down with your zoom. Here you can select your cut and draw options, so you can either set it as a cut line or a draw line. can't put it to both, which is annoying. And it's one of the few things that
Online does better.
the online does better because it allows you to set to cut and draw. So be aware, usually when anything comes into Canvas, it will always come in as a cut line. So even if the person previously has set it as a draw line, it will still come in as a cut line unless it's a saved Canvas file with these right settings. If it comes in as a Canvas file, it will usually come in with the right cut or draw, won't it?
Yeah.
But if it's been saved just as an FCM, they will all come in as cut lines, or an SVG, all come in as cut lines. So it's always worth remembering that. So even though somebody says, oh yeah, I've set it all up as a thing, if it comes in as an SVG, it will all come in as cut lines, and you have to go through and set them all manually. Up the top here next you have your fill settings, so you can fill colour or the lines. So these are purely for your reference, they make no difference whatsoever. So with the Mac it brings up a little colour palette, but it's only the Mac that does that. If you're on a PC, it'll probably look something like that, but it's usually all boxes and a cross, so it's not quite like that. No, it's not going to show me on there. On the PC I know it comes up with just boxes, and you have one that says no fill. On this one you have opacity instead of fill or no fill. So you can set it to basically the higher you fill it, the more it fills. So 100% is a filled square, 50% is an opaque, and down at 0 is no fill. So that's where you can change those. Natalie likes the crane, so we'll leave it on cranes because it's got lots of different settings. And she likes it on there. I won't go changing things for her. And you have the same with your line colour. Again, line colour is purely your preference. It's only there if you want to set your draw lines blue, you can. If you have lots of different sets of images and you think, oh, I want that colour for reference, that's fine. When you send it to your machine, it'll all come through black, so don't worry about it. It's just one of those things.
One of the things to bear in mind when it comes to colour is Canvas cannot print. So the number of times I see the question of, I've done a design in Canvas and I want to print it out, how do I do it? And the answer is don't use Canvas to design in. So even if you do a screenshot, it's still not good quality.
The new function, the print to cut.
Yeah, if you've got the print to cut, you can do it to
you
PDF.
can do it to PDF. You can export it as a PDF. Which.
Even so, get to learn a proper package.
Yeah.
If you want to start doing designing like that, get a proper package to work in.
Yep. Next one across is your line width, and again, makes no difference to the machine. It's one of the biggest errors people make. They think, oh, I'm going to make it a thicker line, so they go, I'm going to push this up to 20 point. That's going to give me a nice thick border, and it doesn't. It still cuts this original thin blue line in the middle. It makes no difference to your machine whatsoever. All it does, it gives you a reference to where the shape is. So it's one of the biggest mistakes people make, thinking, oh, that's going to cut me a nice thick border around.
No.
And it doesn't. All it does is it gives you a border on the screen. So again, it will only, where you can see this nice thin blue line, which is highlighted in the middle,
Is where it's going to cut.
that's where it will cut. And it's got these bits in the side and nothing. It's just there for reference. So why they do it, to be honest, I'm not sure. I suppose it's there if you want different variants line widths on your design, so you can see different bits. Then you can use it for that.
It's another one of those things where it's for your reference only, isn't it?
Yeah, it is purely for your reference. So use it as much you want. Most people don't use it. It just sits at one point and.
Yeah, I totally ignore it.
Yeah, and then the last one at the top here, we have our line patterns. So this is where you can do your perforations and your dots and dashes. Natalie uses the third one down. Is that right?
Big gaps, little
Big
dots.
gaps, little dots. Yay, got the right one. For all the perforations. So if you want to do a score line, you can draw it with your path tool and then set it as a dotted line, and that way you get your nice perforations, which you can either draw or cut, depending on how confident you are with the scoreboard, or if you want your machine to do it for you. It makes it nice and easy to fold.
Or if you're working with particularly thick material, sometimes I'll cut it rather than draw it. So it's already kind of weakened, so it's easier to fold it without cracking.
There, that's the top line across the top. So, coming across to the right hand panel. So we've done the left hand panel, we're over to the right. So, top of the list, properties. So this tells you what operation you're asking the machine to do. So you're asking it to cut out that square. So it's only what's highlighted blue is what it can, what the information you get is. So that square is set to cut. It's got no fill. It's got a black outline, and it's got your patterns. So the line width and the dash on it if you want it a solid line or your dash. So you can still set it over here as well. These are your text options, so we've been through a little bit of these already, and some more text options at the bottom here, which I'll come back to when I do a bit more text. We then go into our edit. Now this tells you where it is on the mat, so it says it's 3.2mm by 3.2mm, which is this position here, the XY, and then it gives you the height and width, so it's a 100mm square. You maintain aspect ratio, so if you want to change that to make it a rectangle, you could untick the box and then you'd be able to change these independently and it would change them. If you leave it ticked, when you resize it, it resizes as a square. You have the resize here as well, and this does resize by percentage or by scale. So you can change this if you want it to go up and down. It brings it in percentages. And again, if you want to change it just one bit or the other bit, you can do it with or without the maintain aspect ratio. So in transform, we can do our rotate. So here we can do our angles. So if we change that to 45, we can see it puts it around as a diamond. Let's just very quickly make it different so you can see. Just messing with shapes at the moment just to play. So the reason I've done that is so you can see it'll flip and it will flip. So do it both ways. Now these are particularly handy if you want to use your HTV, because you'll want to flip your text so it goes back to front when you're doing HTV, which is heat transfer vinyl. So you can have it so it swaps it and reverses it for you for when you're doing your heat transfer. I'm going to delete that out of the way for a minute because I don't need that, and let's select our next shape. So down a little bit further, so we have our align objects. So if we select more than one object by using shift, our align objects come up, so we can align them to the left, to the top, which will align them both within. We can do centers as well, so if we do undo, undo, select both. Computer's having to go slow. Let's just move that one out of the way a bit. And select that one as well. We can align them to center. If we go middle as well, it'll realign them back over the top of each other, but they are now perfectly aligned. We can align them to the right and we can align them to the bottom, which make no difference at the moment because they're both perfectly aligned. If you have 3 or more objects, so if I put another square on the mat, let's move that one and have that one, and we have them all selected. You can now see we can distribute them, so we can say they're all the same apart, So they're now evenly distributed within their space. That's right, isn't it? The distribute space I always get wrong.
Yeah, so it evens up the space between three items. So the idea being, if you move your bottom shape down a bit more.
This one.
Yeah, so you can see see it working a bit better. That's it. So select all three, so select all. Okay. So you have distribute objects and that one, yeah, click. You'll see it'll even them up. Or if you use the one underneath where it says distribute space, if you set it to 0, it will actually put them up against each other.
Which one do I want? That one?
Yeah. So now you know they're exactly on the same line. So that if you have two shapes that are in line with one another, so if you move that centre one.
So if I put them all to left.
Yeah. And then go to weld, you'll see that it actually will weld perfectly between that square and then the rounded square next to it, because they're right on that same plane. So it's the most accurate way of doing your welding.
Did that weld at the bottom as well?
It may not
quite
done because you've only got like the tip of the points. So you're asking a bit much there, dear. Because if you think about it, you've got two shapes that are lying side by side. So if you've got points in that shape, it's only going to be that point that's on that same line. But if you've got something that's got a straight edge, then it will weld.
Welded.
Okay.
I just nudge it up a little bit. So, there's my next few buttons I was going to come play. I might get you to do those buttons because you like those buttons.
Well, you can start off doing them and I'll go into a bit more depth when I come to doing card design.
Okay, so the buttons we have are weld, which you've just seen me use. So it will take two shapes and it will weld them together. So like this one here and these at the bottom, and it welds them together. We have divide, and that pushes like a cookie cutter through the mould, doesn't it?
Yeah, so if you undo your weld.
Let's undo and undo.
You probably don't need to undo that part, do you?
Oh, okay, just move that one up so it overlaps.
Yeah, so it overlaps.
Let's put it over there, so that makes it a bit more.
So you can see what you're doing.
Yeah, so I can select everything, because I have my two shapes.
So Control and A.
And then we can go divide.
And you're going to look at that and you're going to think nothing's changed. But if you click off them, and then click and drag.
And there we go. So we now got 1, 2, and we have our 3 bits. So it's taken a nice cookie cutter and punched it all the way through 3 pieces.
So what you'll usually end up using divide for is if you lose the centre of letters.
Yep.
So then you can punch them back through.
If we now take, let's move that out of the way for a minute. Let's rotate that and punch that into there somewhere. So one of the other ways you can rotate an item is by pulling it round by this top circle here. And when you go hover over it, the handle, it becomes a little circle. So you can use that to do rotates. So next we're going to use remove overlap.
You need to select everything first.
Oh, sorry. I don't want everything, do I? I only want that one and that one.
Yeah.
So select my 2 items. And we're going to remove overlap.
Okay.
Broken it again. So this time now when I move this shape, it's just taken a chunk and punched it out. So it's almost like a punch, that one, isn't it? So it takes the chunk out of the shape, but it leaves your shape as it was originally.
Yeah, so if you wanted to do like a repeating border, you could almost use it like a paper punch in that sense.
Yeah. And then let's do a funky one that covers everything. And select those. And last but not least, we're going to do subtract. So it's going to make a mess of everything.
Yep.
There you go. Subtract, and it just takes away the other. So that one you can see it takes away. So we have a rickety stairways
Yep.
and a cliff drop at the bottom. Put some water in, you got a nice water scene with a with a boat. You like the boat, see? That was well thought out, wasn't it? My boat I can put on the water.
You donut.
It only takes a little bit of imagination. You can do all sorts with imagination. Anyway, that's just me being daft and playing. So let's move that out of the way. So, say our little item, our little boat down here. We can also do what's known as an offset. So you also have your text shape underneath, but we've covered that a little bit already, so I'll come back to that in a sec. So with the offset, we can tell it what we want it to do. So this is if you want to put like a matte layer underneath text or any image. So it shows you on here. So it says it's doing a 5mm out. So 5mm will do. Don't know what that is roughly. It's about 1/4 inch. If that.
If that.
Yeah. Which way you want your offset to go? So you can have it to go outward or inward.
So outward's going to get bigger and inward's going to get smaller.
Thank you. So we'll leave it at outward for now. We can tell it what sort of corners we want it to do. So I might change that to bevel because it's quite a square edged pattern. So it will keep those square edges for me. And what we want it to do with the original line. So we can tell it to leave it as is, delete it, or you can set the inside line as a drawing line. Now if you're doing text, setting it to a drawing line is probably a good one because then it'll draw your
Text
and then you can cut the matte layer. So it works in a nice way there, so you can do that. But for now I'll leave it as is just to show. And it's a offset line around the outer edge only.
So if you're working with like a letter A or an O where you've got a hole in the middle, then you can choose whether you want that offset to also apply to the hole or if you just want to leave it as a plane.
We're going to click OK. And then we can see it's put our offset around the outside edge. So again we've got the nice square edges, we've got the nice rounded bottom. Now the one thing to note is it doesn't group it. So as it puts it there, if you move the outside shape now, it moves just the outside shape. It doesn't move the inside shape as well. So if you want to move them together or keep them together, you need to group them. So again, Command and G or Control and G, which then puts it as one, and then you can move it around. And if from your subtract you get any little dinky bits like this, won't let me delete the little dinky bit, sweetie. Because of my shape, I'd have to put something over it
And subtract it or use your note.
yeah. I wonder if it will let me.
Yeah.
Oh, it will with the note. But yay. There we can delete a note.
So you just need to make sure your notes that they're bright blue when you're deleting them so that you know you have the right one selected.
Gone. Yay, note's gone. So that's my offset one. And if you have the vinyl kit, you also get the option to put a weeding box around things. So if you're doing vinyl and you want to put a weeding box around your design, you click weeding box and it'll come with the options with, which I don't think yet we've ever changed the settings. So we use the optimize the weeding at the minimum space, we press OK, and it puts a weeding box around your design, and it does group that, so you move it and it moves together. So the weeding box does actually group as a collection and puts it all together. But that is part of the vinyl kit, if you have it. So when you get the vinyl auto blade, which we highly recommend, it's very useful. It's not just for vinyl. We use it for cutting all sorts, paper, details. It's basically the equivalent of your standard blade in the CM machine. So that's that side. Your next one is your layers tool. Now this will show you where you have all your bits. So as we can see, we've got our 2 bits that we've grouped. We have our weeding box, which is also grouped with that group. And we have the shape that we created, which is just a shape. We can turn any of these off by using the toggle vision. So we can turn them on and off. And we can turn the group off, and we can turn the weeding box off. Now if we click the top one here and turn the group off, it will turn all of that off because it's all of this as one group. And then you've got your shape at the side. So they will delete all of the bits. If you want to change, if it's a cut or a score, you can, a cut or draw, sorry, you can change it with a click on the knife object at the side. And you can also lock it, so if it's locked you can no longer click and select it on the page or move it, as we said earlier. What's also handy to note with this page here, or this section, if you have an item that you turn off visibility and you send to your machine, it will only send what is visible. So it will only send what it can see on the mat. The lock makes no difference whatsoever. So if you've got it turned on and locked and send it to your machine, it will unlock it on your machine. But if you have it turned off, it won't send it, so it will only send what's visible on your mat. I'm just going to pull this out and make it float for a second, just so I can pull up this bit so you can see the bottom of the design panel. So if I select one of the groups, you can see here we have a couple of buttons at the bottom. So you have duplicate. So if I want another one, I can duplicate that group. I can move it over here, so I've now got 2. Or I can delete. So if I make a mistake or I don't want it, click delete and it will disappear. And if I close that window there, it goes back into my panel at the side. So my last one on this side is my artboard. So this is where I can select the size of my artboard. So I have 12 by 12, 12 by 24, or because we have the vinyl auto kit, it also gives us the option for a custom size for tiling. So we can set that to any size that we want for tiling.
But you don't have to use.
You don't have to use it. No.
You don't have to use the vinyl blade if you set it up for tiling. It's one of the other benefits. So if you want to do, like a dress pattern, you can do, and it will tile that for you.
So we can also set our ruler and what we want it in. So if we want it in millimetre or inches, so that changes all our measurements on the screen. So if we want inches rather than millimetres, depending if you're old school or new school, you can set it up whichever way you prefer. You can ask it to show a ruler. One thing I always state with the ruler is it puts 0 in line with the edge of your mat.
And not the cutting area.
And not the cutting area. So your 0 lines up here. And the same on the side, it lines up with the top of your mat, not the cutting area. So just be wary of that once if you're lining things up to the markings on there, that it lines up to the right place. You can type to show the mat image if you want to. So here it shows the outside edge of the mat. If you turn it off, you can turn it off, which some people prefer, some people don't. It doesn't make any difference to me, I usually leave it on. You can show the grid, so if you just wanted a plain background, you don't have to have it there. And we also have snap to grid. Now snap to grid is more if you're doing lots of intricate work, or if you want something that is exactly on that point, then you can use snap to grid and it will snap to, so if I was moving this around now, you can see each time I move it, it snaps to a corner of a square or to a point on that square. Yeah, so it only goes halfway or fully onto that, each of those points. So that's what snap to grid does. And of course you can change the grid spacing. So you can take this all the way down to tiny, tiny squares, down to 1 millimeter. Wow, that's changed. You didn't used to be able to take it down that low.
What, 1 mil grid?
1 mil grid. That is tiny whiny.
The grid's useful if you're making boxes, for instance, something where you need it to line up.
Yeah. Wow. So that's why it normally goes as 0.25, so a quarter of an inch. But now I can move this to any of those on that grid. So it's always handy if you need lots of flexibility on where you want to be able to put it on your map and you have snap to grid on. It's a good one to have with the lots of squares. But most people leave it on 1 because that matches what's on your mat. If you use the snap to grid. So that's what most people leave it at. Or 25.4 millimeters if you're being precise. So that's all those down the sides. So, almost done with me, you'll be glad to know. So at the top where you have your file, you have your new, so which will start a blank screen. You have open, which will open Canvas project files only. So when you save a project in Canvas, it does not save it as an FCM, it saves it as a CanvasWorkspace project file. So it's a CWPRJ, is that right?
PRJ, yeah.
Yeah, file. Which is really random and it's only Canvas that can open it. If you want to save it as an FCM, you have to export it at the bottom. So on the PC version you'll have export, and you'll probably have export via USB cable if you've got the SDX model. But you can just click export and it says items that are so you can, here we say export, you can export it as an FCM file and then you can save it on your computer as an FCM, or you can transfer it direct to your machine, whichever one you want to do. But that's how you save those. So at the top here you have your edit, so you have all your options here that you have normally. So you have your undo, cut, copy and paste. If you select something you want to copy it, you can copy and paste it. You have select all, deselect all line operations, so you can tell it to cut or draw. You got your flip and aligns, you can resize as well. Process your overlaps, and you can create your offsets if you've got something selected. Your layers, here we can do duplicate, you can delete, show, hide, unlock, unlock all. So if you have something locked and you don't want any of it locked anymore, you can unlock it. Group, ungroup, and then you've got your arrange as well, where you can bring things to the front and back, which Natalie will go into later because she uses that a lot. Display, so here you have your zooms, so you can zoom in and out, you can go to your matte size, selected objects, so how it zooms. Your units, if you want a quick way to change your units to inches or millimeters without going into your artboard settings. Hide your ruler, hide the mat, and you can turn on your snap to grid if you want to. Now premium will be all of your premium functions, so if you have more than one, then this will all appear here. So if you have the rhinestone kit, you have the roll feeder, you have the vinyl auto blade, all these settings will appear in your premium settings as they are additional settings. So when that comes up, that's where you'll find all those bits. Window just tells you that you've got one window open and what you can do with it. And then help, you can go into the quick online helps. There you go. So there's all your premium functions you can get. You can get the rhinestone, printable sticker, your enhanced image tracing, roll feeder, paper piercing, print to cut, and vinyl auto blade. So those are the current premium options that you have. So they all have their own little bits that go with it. You can also get to your account settings. So if you have any premium packs that you need to activate, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. You can go into your account settings and you can then activate your premium products from there.
Yeah, with your little card.
Yeah, with the little card and the scratch off bit that you have to scratch off. Gives you a 16-digit code or whatever it gives you. Same, you can do your update account information, again takes you to the same place, or you can log out if you really want to, which I don't think anybody ever has. You can also check for updates, so if you think you're not running the most up-to-date version, I think it's 2.4 at the moment. Let's have a look. It doesn't say on that one. Let's see what version we're on. Yes, we're on 2.4.0 at the moment, which was the last update, which they did in February, I believe. Is it February last year?
For
the last update. It was about that, wasn't it?
For Canvas? No, August.
August, oh, okay.
When they brought out the scan and cut link and all the other new bits.
Ah, they did an update then?
Yeah.
There you go.
Which is the one I'm waiting for them to update to sort my computer.
Yeah, well, that's Adobe as well, isn't it? So there we go, there's that one. Your mum's apologised. Oh, come on now, stop playing me up. So that's all the buttons across the top as well. So do we have any questions or anything you'd like me to show you again, or that you don't think I've shown you enough of before I go too much further? All good, going at a nice speed. That's cool. Okay, here, good. All good from Sally. Joanne's okay. Darcy's fine. Gary's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who am I missing? Sue.
Sue. Yep.
Oh,
okay.
that's cool. Have a quick drink.
What I was going to say is, if you're done showing everything you want to show on yours, we could have an early break.
Yep, come back at 12:30.
And come back at 12:30.
Yeah, we can do that.
And then we'll change over to my computer then.
Yeah.
So it gives us time to have lunch and change over.
Yeah, happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do, as I've pretty much shown all I want to show, and your quick guided tour, we'll break for a lunch break, so have an hour's break, and we'll aim to come back at 12:30, when Natalie will be taking over and showing you a bit more in-depth bits, so going into things like your nodes, more into your calculations,
and getting you to start your first design file.
Yeah, and we'll do a design as well, so you'll have something that's all designed so you can actually go away and cut something then afterwards by the end of today, which will be good.
I will pop something up in the group for you to download over lunch as well, so that we can import a file as well.
Yeah, okay.
I'm probably going to use the same one as yesterday, in fairness, because that was quite nice.
It was nice, wasn't it?
Nice little project. So Delsey's going to have a head start on that one.
Yeah. And Sally said, no. Loads of fun. Anyway.
Loads of fun, and once you get used to them, they do form the basis of everything you do. So, you know, it's a bit like...
Can you see comments? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see comments.
That's okay, because I just need to change screens on here so I can end the stream.
Yeah.
So, thank you all very much for your time this morning. I hope you've all enjoyed what I've been through and done with you. Like I said, if you do have any questions, pop them up in the group or drop us a message and we'll answer them best we can. They don't have to be related to this morning, they can be scan and cut questions, anything you like. We're quite open, aren't we?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask questions, and we'll see you back at 12:30. Thank you very much, and bye for now.